Hello, welcome back to our show. This will be our last show of the week. So, what did we learn this week? Well, that's what we're about to find out. Who has issues with everybody's picks? I'm going to start right here because Demetrius has never failed to give me grief for my infatuation with the Oakland Athletics. Demetrius, you have done nothing but pick Toronto for the entirety of everything. You started by picking them to go to the World Series after beating the Yankees, which in itself is an outlandish claim enough. Then you have the manager of the year coming out of Toronto. Then you have
and or Los Angeles.
Please. Your first pick was Charlie Montoya. We all know it. It's fine. You said 1A. That means he is your first choice. 1B, it's like a minor step below.
You picked Bob Melvin.
I know I did, but you're giving me it's the pot calling the kettle black here. I mean, we both did the same thing, and you're giving me grief over the A's when you're doing the same thing, not just with Toronto, but with a proven cheater. You are really going to sit there and tell me and tell us to our faces that the Baseball Writers Association of America is going to actively vote for someone who probably tainted the game more than they think Pete Rose did.
May I turn to interject the fact that you gave said cheater $150 million when he is in his early 30s and is expected to be out of his prime soon. He definitely won't play center field in 2 years, that's for sure.
Listen. To be fair and defend Meach just a little bit, $150 million.
You went out and actively got a cheater. That's it's like the Mets signing Beltran to be your manager. Oh, how'd that work out?
100
fired him after it came out.
100
cheating. Red Sox hiring Alex Cora.
Oh my God.
Alex Cora got his job back and Beltran didn't, so.
Listen, $150 million in baseball these days is like $15 million. Okay, and that ain't nothing.
Who would know more about that than the Mets, who gave it to Bobby Bonilla?
Hold on.
His contract ends the same year as Fernando Tatis.
Well, listen. Okay,
Mike, just stop. You're not gonna win. Please.
Let's talk about Mr. 230 batting average, Matt Chapman. The only thing that Matt Chapman is catching is chap lips. Okay, that's the only thing that he's catching. All right. So when you talk about the A's and you talk about the L's that they've been catching, I don't see how you could rationally pick Matt Chapman, who hasn't even made an all-star team all but once in his career, as the MVP. How do you just
once in the 3 years he was eligible to make an all-star team, he made an all-star team? Wow, if he plays 18 years, that's 6 all-star appearances.
You think
more than a lot of people. But he's going to make more than that.
From what you've seen from him lately, do you feel confident that he's going to make 6 all-star teams?
Yeah, I do. Back-to-back Gold Gloves. He came 7th in the MVP voting one year. He came in 6th the very next year. He's getting better. He had an off year last year, I grant you, but his slugging percentage is still through the roof.
No.
His batting average is but as we all know, home runs somehow matter. As we saw with Giancarlo Stanton hitting 59 home runs or whatever it was, and having a lot of strikeouts.
He had a 250 to 260 batting average that year. He won the MVP.
Yes.
Matt Chapman's batting average compares to your boy Carlos Pena back in the day. Okay, Carlos Pena, Chris Carter, these guys that hit all these home runs but don't do anything in terms of actually impacting games and winning that match.
Had a 210. Matt Chapman had a 278 2 years ago.
I give you credit for defending the people you love, for real. You are a real.
I defend with stats. I'm looking at numbers. I'm not arguing against batting average, but look at his slugging. Look at his OPS. There's plenty more to people, as we all know recently, than batting average. Just like with pitchers, there's plenty more than wins. Jacob deGrom had a 500 record, and he still won Cy Young.
I'm just looking at the 54 times in 140 at-bats that he struck out, okay? That's a 13% increase from the year prior in which he made the All-Star team. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I'm not saying that Matt Chapman doesn't have the chance to still be the face of that franchise. He is, because they don't have anybody else, but also because he's solid. but he's not going to win the MVP over Mike Trout.
Who's in the same division as him.
Look, we all know, and there is no argument here, that Mike Trout is the best player in the AL.
In baseball.
No, Juan Soto.
1A, 1B.
That's fine. The Angels have done nothing. Nobody likes them because they completely and always suck. Mike Trout is always fantastic. But he is the only good part of that team. Of course he's the MVP. He's the only reason people watch that team. But the voting ends before the postseason starts. And when people see what Matt Chapman does to get the A's to the postseason, which you can argue about the World Series all you want, he's going to help them win the West.
Okay. Right.
When they see what he does there, they're going to say, okay, MVP of the league or MVP of a postseason relevant team that's going to do something.
That's going to get destroyed in the wild card game.
That's going to not even be in the wild card game because they won the West. So I don't really see the comparison there. But good try with that joke.
Look, all right, I hate Houston too, but like, you know,
that's all that.
The end justifies the means sometimes, you know.
Well, I mean, it certainly does for George Springer, who got paid $150 million for banging on a trash can.
Look, that was an organizational thing.
Then why did it carry over to the Red Sox?
Because Boston sucks at everything.
I mean, Alex Cora.
Alex Cora.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on.
It's an organizational thing, but somehow it has tampered two organizations. Tell me more about how it's just the Astros.
Well, the Yankees too. Don't forget the Yankees. It happened with the Yankees.
Oh, 3. Oh, you're proving my point even more. So what's that about organizational issue? Sounds more like it's an infection in the league.
Look, all right. Look.
Looking.
Look.
Up.
Oh, man. I think the reality is that it started with the Stros, and Cora, I believe, was still a part of that organization.
Cora was a part of that organization.
And Beltran.
Cora took it to the Red Sox, and then Beltran took it over to the National League. Right. It is spreading. I just want to point out our next week's shows are going to be about fantasy drafting and how to approach the draft for fantasy baseball. And I mentioned that because I've been, practicing. And you know where Yu Darvish is ranked in fantasy? He is one of the top 10 pitchers you can draft and one of the top 25 players off the board.
Wow.
I want to say top. It might be fewer than top 10. It might be top 5. You have Garrett Cole. You have Jake DeGrom. You have Shane Bieber. You have Trevor Bauer. And I think Luis Castillo is above him as well. And I think then it's Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish is projected to get 513 fantasy points this year. I remember that number. So whether he's top 5, top 10 pitcher, he's definitely a top 10 pitcher. Whether he's top 25 or not, he's projected to get 513 fantasy points. If that is not the most outlandish claim that ESPN stats projections have ever given you, I don't know what is. But I will say that ESPN's outlandish claim with a 500-point performance matches up with Demetrius' outlandish claim of Yu Darvish winning the Cy Young. Because Yu Darvish is ranked higher than all of our picks except for
Garrett Cole
and Jacob DeGrom. That's it. So, gentlemen, thank you again for redoing this stuff. Really appreciate the commitment there. So, yes, closing thoughts for the week. I'll go first because mine will be quick. First of all, happy St. Patrick's Day. Go Ireland. Secondly, something I forgot from the last week's show was the National Women's Hockey League. Most of them are on strike because they're not being paid fairly as compared to the men, which is completely accurate. The women just won, the United States women just obviously won the gold medal a couple of years ago. And more importantly, they're just not paid well at all. And so they're on strike. They're doing a little kind of round robin-y type thing. And these women can play. If your argument, which is the biggest argument I've seen since getting my master's in sports broadcasting, the biggest argument, and Gio, who works in the field as well, could probably agree, is that women aren't as watchable as men. That is complete crap.
Agreed.
Cap.
It's crap.
No, it's crap and it's cap.
Yes, absolute cap. Absolute cap. Complete and total falsehood. They are more watchable than the men's hockey teams in most cases, in my opinion. The men Do the top tier of the men versus top tier of the women? I don't think. I mean, we even have Serena Williams saying that Roger Federer would beat her 1-on-1 6-love, 6-love. Top tier of the men: Patrick Kane, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. They're in a league separate. But you can't sit there and tell me that people like Riley Smith, Carter Verhaeghe, even to an extent Devin Taves, are better than what the women put out on the ice. That the women take the fundamentals, and this is the way Demetrius put it the first time we tried this. The women are perfect at fundamental play. They're flawless to watch. There's hardly ever a bouncing puck. Everything about their game is elegance personified. And I would just say that the biggest reason that you don't see them is not because of regular, ordinary, everyday people. It's because the marketers don't care. The marketers and the sponsors do not care about this because they think that's unwatchable. Get on the marketers. Get on the sponsors. These people have the power, and I guarantee you put women's hockey in everybody's home, broadcast every time there's a game, people will watch.
Yeah, so I'll jump in after that because I think what you say is very important. As the resident ad exec out of the group, I can definitely tell you that viewership equates to sponsorship, right? And so when you're putting eyeballs out there, the demand is only going to increase even if the supply does not, right? So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for viewership ratings. We're looking for just share a voice when it comes to the partners that we work with. And overall, we're looking for reach. And so when you put it out there like that, and you allow for the women to finally get the exposure like they haven't gotten, not just even across hockey, but across all sports for a very long time. I mean, people still don't even think about Serena Williams as one of the greatest athletes of all time. That's ridiculous. So that's my point on that. I'm going to actually talk about something relatively separate, and I'll be very quick. I have a sneaker to emphasize this topic. And what I'm here to talk about, y'all are not going to believe this one. We need to give Kyrie Irving an apology, y'all. We need to give Kyrie Irving an apology. Yeah. Yeah. You see this?
That's beautiful.
These are the Concepts Kyrie sixes. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Kyrie Irving, since he has returned, has played absolutely out of his mind. Kyrie Irving has been sort of the overlooked superstar when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. And this brother has basically been quiet and done it all. So I'm very proud of him. I think that we owe him an apology. And the fact that he has been as selfless a superstar as anybody in the NBA, can't argue with it. I'm happy for them. Even as a Knicks fan, it pains me to say it.
Patriots have made a lot of signings in recent days, especially bringing back the 2 tight end system. They've signed Kendrick Bourne to a deal. They're still trying to go after 2 starter potential running backs, and they just continue to spend money, including bringing back Cam to a 1-year deal that could be up to $14 million. My final thoughts are just I hope that the Patriots lose more than 10 games this year again, and that's my Super Bowl.
I'm piggybacking on Gio for sure. I remember 1 year ago to the day, I made one of my free agency videos when Tom Brady signed with the Bucks, and I was the happiest camper alive. I celebrated like AB when the Raiders released him. I now look back on that with my head hung in pain that Pittsburgh has felt for 3 years. Tom Brady leaves, signs with Tampa. Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl. The Jets go 2-14. He and Gronk resign. The Patriots sign everybody. Pain.
So your final thoughts are you're not looking forward to a Patriots-Buccaneers Super Bowl. That's your final thoughts. I feel for you. Well, gentlemen, that will do it. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with our all draft podcast week. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.